With the backdrop of high fertiliser prices, we had two trials last year looking at the impact of reducing nitrogen rates. In one trial we reduced the nitrogen rate from 200 kilos to 150, and in the other trial we went from 200 kilos to 160 and then even down to 120. We lost between half a tonne and 1.3 tonnes a hectare in yield in making those reductions. That was actually double what the AHDB figures would suggest that we should lose for those nitrogen reductions. That's not to say that the AHDB figures were wrong. It's just that they base those reductions on you applying the economic nitrogen rate. And actually what we discovered from our trials from this year was that actually we hadn't applied the economic optimum nitrogen rate at the 200 kilo rate. We were already suboptimal. The proteins we produced at that nitrogen rate were just over 10%. So we were probably around 20 to 30 kilos shy of the economic nitrogen rate. Therefore, those reductions that we made, we saw bigger yield losses because they were actually, in fact, bigger reductions because we were already below the economic optimum nitrogen rate. With that in mind, it's important that you don't just look at the break-even ratio when you're looking at adjusting your nitrogen rates. You really need to understand how close you've historically been to applying your economic optimum nitrogen rate. And to do that, you need to look at historic protein levels. Ideally from a field situation, but it's more likely that you'll have grain proteins from a shed, which will be an average of a number of fields. It will, though, still give you a useful guide. You're looking for a protein of around 11% for feed wheat. If you're significantly under that or significantly over that, it would indicate that you've either historically under or over applied nitrogen to those fields. As you can see in this graph here, this shows the individual grain proteins from fields that were sampled through our broad spectrum grain analysis service. As you can see, there's a significant range in results. Some of the fields at the lower end of the proteins there probably didn't receive enough nitrogen to produce the best yield possible. Where at the other end, we had applications probably in excess of the requirement for those crops. That's incredibly powerful information to tailor nitrogen rates to get closer to the economic optimum nitrogen rate for individual fields. With the cost of fertiliser, the value of grain, it's so important to put the right nitrogen rate on.